Welcome to another Business Spotlight, where we share pearls of wisdom, insights and reflections from local business owners. My name is Kerry James. I'm a business coach and a facilitator. And on today's Business Spotlight, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Peter Gibson, founder and director of Grindsmith Coffee. Good afternoon to you, Peter, and welcome to Business Spotlight.
Oh, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get stuck straight in then, Peter. You're helping people with their concentration and getting up in the morning. Please tell us a little bit more about Grindsmith Coffee. How long have you been in business, please, and what do you specialize in?
So yeah, we've been doing it for the past 10 years now. Started in 2014 was our first unit. It was myself and Luke Tomlinson is the other half of the business. And we actually worked together beforehand. I actually used to be an outdoor instructor. Graduated with an environmental science degree from Scotland. Not that I've used that too much in the last 10 years. And we saw that there was a need for good coffee in Manchester. I think back in the day, there was maybe one or two outlets that were serving what we would kind of call specialty coffee. Everything else was kind of a bit bog standard. And we grouped together a bit of funding and opened it was actually a converted garden office, our first unit that we nicknamed the Pod, and we put it just across the river from Manchester Cathedral. So technically we were Salford's best coffee shop at the time, so we weren't fighting for the Manchester title. And then from there we kind of grew in reputation, kept on the funding kept on coming. So we could open another unit on Deansgate, expanded into Media City. That was 2016. And then we decided to roast our own coffee in 2018. So that was kind of led to mostly where I'm based now is looking after that production side of the business.
Okay, so for some viewers that might be thinking, coffee is coffee type of thing, how do you differentiate and how do you justify the claim that your coffee is better than other people's coffee?
So there's a very easy method, and that's what coffee is analysed on. So it's analysed on a scoring system that scores coffee out of 100, and anything above 80 points is classed as specialty grade coffee, therefore holding a higher price to it. Anything below would be classed as commodity coffee. So everything that we will deal with in the roastery, it will always be Arabica coffee, and it will always score greater than kind of 80 points, although really we deal with kind of 85 and above. And that's a very clear standard of this is why our coffee is better.
Okay. So Peter, it's been an interesting few years since COVID, and it's affected various businesses in many, many different ways, whether it's interest rates or Brexit issues or people working from home or a whole range of different issues, the digital revolution. How have all those things impacted on your industry and your business, would you say?
I think it's only on reflection now that actually the quietness of COVID was enjoyable in a sense. A lot of people were suffering, but as a business throughout that, we were allowed to trade. So we took the decision that we would do takeaway only in a kind of COVID safe. And we were one of the only places and one of the first to kind of make that decision in Media City store and in our city centre store as well, to actually stay open, which we kind of toiled with for a while, but we thought that the community still needed us. It was all this idea around what is an essential business. And I think it's hard sometimes if you're in hospitality to be like, are you essential or are you luxury? Do people really need that cup of coffee every morning? But the stories that came out of it is actually that we were the only interaction that certain people had in their day or in their week. And it kind of created structure for them of, let's leave the apartment. We can do our walk, which we can legally do, and we can go and pick up a coffee, and we can get to see somebody and have a small interaction at a time that was incredibly difficult for people in regards to loneliness. So there was enough stories that came out of that I said, oh, actually, I think we've made the right decisions, not on a profitability scale and worrying about our cash flow, but also from like a people side, which is a big part of why I'm in business anyway, was maintaining that community. I think if you own a coffee shop, you are so integral to the community. It's a meeting place. It's welcome to all. And the amount of stories and people that come through your doors every day, you can be that difference to an enjoyable day. And the fact that the coffee's good as well is always a bonus. I say that we're a people-focused business, and our coffee happens to be really good, is how I like to describe us.
Very good.
And then it was actually coming out of COVID was the difficult part. It felt like you were the government was holding your hand a little bit. It was, you know, paying furlough. There were grants available. But it was actually that time, I think around kind of March 21, that actually I found the toughest, because all the stabilizers were off, all the support was gone. You had a full staff team to pay for again, even though the hours weren't available, and nobody was coming into the city centre. Everybody was still concerned, and the feeling of being able to be that there's this contagious element, you know, that you don't want to interact, actually is really harmful for a business that bases itself on human interaction as well as the product. So that was really where I felt the most pressure from COVID, was coming out of it, not being in it.
Interesting.
So that was, yeah. And then I think really even when we're crunching the numbers now, only now are we seeing an increase from 2019 in terms of business growth. And a lot of that is down to price increases on our side, having to keep up with suppliers, and also the increase in wages, than it necessarily is people returning to buying from hospitality. So we can't quite kind of work out which one is it. Are we busier than we were in 2019, or are we just charging more for our products? But definitely that period, 21 till really the end of 23, has been the toughest.
Right. So what would you say the main challenges are now? You talked a little bit about pricing, you talked a little bit about people, you know, given where you are now, Peter, and where you'd like to be in the future, what would you say your main challenges now?
I think is the argument with a lot of hospitality at the moment. It is just the cost of goods. To get it into your business, and also having available credit to buy that as well before you need to sell it. So many people went out of business that a lot of the suppliers that we're dealing with are either refusing or nervous to give you any credit terms. So it means that everything really you are paying ahead for, which, as we kind of went through a painful period of needing to get to that place, but that's also quite a nice place to be, is that you're not creating any debt in the business, that you're paying for what you use, and you recycle it quite quickly. But with the increase on our side, we're worried about having, how much do we pass over to the customer, because everybody's under pressure at the moment, and coffee is seen as an affordable luxury. So I think as a business type, we are have been recession proof. It has always been proven, you know, coffee sales do grow through a recession, and I know it's just been announced that we have been in one. You know, I think we all knew it, but it's finally on the news that we are in a recession. But it's what is the price of a latte? I remember when we started the business, that there was in my mind really was a £3 cap on a cup of coffee. Like, nobody would pay more than £3. So everything was priced at £2.80, £2.90. Like, let's not hit that £3 threshold. And we've kind of surpassed that now. You know, we're over it, and now we're talking about the £4, even the £5 threshold of like how much are people willing to spend on that cup of coffee, and also how much people can afford to pay for that luxury every day, and when will it get to a point where we as a business become unaffordable to, because coffee seen is very profitable. You know, how much does it cost to produce that per cup? But it's not really the product that's a problem. It's all the costs associated with being able to generate that product for the customer. So I think that's a point that we're getting to, and we're definitely feeling it at the moment. We're almost like really hesitant. We've done 2 or 3 price increases in the last 18 months, and we're like, how much do we keep on going to try and keep up with our increasing costs?
Have you seen much of an obvious link between demand and price as you put those prices up?
No, people are still purchasing and happy to do it. I think that with specialty coffee, we don't do buckets of milk. That's what we try and stay away from. We say we've designed a drink with the size and the ratio of espresso to milk that is a delicious drink that you can still taste coffee within it. You know, if you want a bucket of milk, there's other suppliers that will do that for you. So a lot of the times people will be more like, oh, that's quite expensive for a small product, and we're like, yeah, but it's really good quality. So whereas, and also we think that it tastes delicious at the same time, and we can justify the costs from what we know we're spending. We put the best ingredients into the product, so we shouldn't be selling it for cheap.
And as you said, it's you know, the numbers don't lie, right? So sounds like the demand has been maintained, even though you put your prices up, which is obviously a good sign. So moving towards the future then, Peter, what are the aspirations for the business, and how do you see that balance between, you know, your coffee shops that you've got versus your supply to other, whether it's retail or other other people in the chain of coffee production and consumption? How do you see that balance developing, and what aspirations do you have for the business moving forward?
My aspirations have definitely changed over the years that I've been doing it. I think I set out originally to be the best at what I did. You know, I wanted to be known for that. Not necessarily the biggest, but then once you get to kind of 2 stores and 3 stores, the costs that you need to fund those 3 stores, and say the head office costs and the management costs to run 3 stores, well, you might as well have 6. And then if you've got 6, you might as well have 10, you know. And then suddenly you're looking at this kind of expansion model, and it's quite quickly to let your eye off what the quality is and what the passion you originally had in the business, and that was still serving people the best possible product. So my aspirations is actually stability at the moment. I had the aspirations of, you know, when can we get to this number of stores, and then when can we receive large pots of funding, and when do we go out for, you know, venture capital money, when do we get a big investment house on board, and when do we expand nationally across the UK? And I don't want for that anymore. I think there's you get disconnected from the staff, you get disconnected from the product that you're selling, and those are probably 2 of my cores of what I love. I love to know who's working for me, and I love to know what I'm selling, and I like to be the best at what we're selling, even if it's roasting the coffee, tasting it, buying it, making a flat white for a customer. I like to be the best at all the stages of what we do as a business. So I think to have a period where we look at the profitability across what we have at the moment, rather than looking at, right, we need another store to hit those targets, we need another store. I think it's taken me a number of years, but knowing how much capital it takes to open a coffee shop or any real business that's bricks and mortar, once you look at it, the payback at the moment, the profit margins are so slim that it doesn't seem sensible to open another store, unless it was an absolute golden egg that was gifted to us. It was like, this is going to be a most profitable store. You definitely should open it. So period of consolidation, growing what we have already in the group, protecting jobs, growing quality within our team that we've got, and then we can, once we've built, I think we need to rebuild the foundations a little bit, is what I feel, of instead of rushing to build the house. Like, let's just look at the basics. Are we getting the basics right, and can we do the basics really well? And then once we've got that sorted, and that might take 5 years, let's rebuild. Let's let the market kind of stabilize a little bit, and when we feel it's safe to do so, let's not. I think when you start out in business, it's all about risks. Everyone tells you, you know, you need to, you know, risk big to win big, and, you know, everybody can do it. Just work harder. And then you get to a point where you go, oh, this could actually all crumble beneath me. So it'd be nice to have just a sense of stability in the group, you know, and that you know that you are doing the absolute best across all your business, rebuild, and then grow on those new foundations.
It's great to hear the kind of theme of aspiring and learning how to be the best. That's great to hear. Next question is about your learning, and you've already alluded to this to a certain extent, really, Peter, in terms of making sure you got the foundations in place. But if you were starting this business again, knowing what you know now, what would you say are the key lessons, and what advice might you give yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm really difficult to give advice to, because I need to live it and feel it before I know it. So I think if I came to myself in a dream when I was 18 to give him advice, I still think the 18-year-old self wouldn't listen to me. Would be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But I think in reality, I think it's all take time to work out what your passion is, and really listen to wisdom and people that have lived it. Even if you don't believe them at the time, take time to kind of dwell upon the advice that you're receiving. I was very headstrong. I probably still would be called that. Still am a bit headstrong, believing that I can do it better than anybody else. So I'll give it a go, because they must have done it wrong. I'll do it right. So I think getting my ego in check, that's definitely, if you need your ego in check, open a business and try and go through a pandemic, that'll kind of kick you into gear a little bit to make it clear that you don't know all the answers, and things can get tough for you as well. So yeah, I think I could have taken longer. I rushed into opening a business because that's what I really wanted to do. I didn't spend too much time in industry. I didn't spend too much time in higher level jobs to kind of build a little bit of industry experience. I jumped in with 2 feet and then learned on the job. And I think that's an environment that I do love. I love the pressure. I love people telling me that I won't be able to do it, and you're crazy. You should take your degree, go get a nice paying job somewhere that will support everything, and then maybe in 10 years think about opening a business. But I think I could have took a bit more time, just a little bit more time, just to live a little under a little bit less stressful conditions.
So you mentioned listen to the wisdom of others. Has this come from books, or have you had your own mentors? Where's that wisdom come from that you may be reflecting that you could have learned more from at one point in your career?
I've been fortunate that I've had a number of mentors, maybe not in business itself, but there's a certain number of people that I've always been surrounded by, that have always been a listening ear and a kind of caring self, non-judgmental, just tell me your problems and we can work through a solution together. And then once we took on investment, we took our first investment on. I've never had a business that somebody's invested in, so I didn't really understand what that brought, and we were very, very fortunate in the early days that 2 gentlemen came on board that were partners in another business, and they've just stuck by us through every challenge, everything that we've had. And when things got really tough, we get on the phone and they say, right, come and have a little chat. And they've lived it as well, and they've got that kind of wealth of experience of, yeah, sometimes in business you can wake up in the morning and go, why am I doing this? This is like, I feel a lot of pressure. I'm not enjoying the job I've built for myself, and you should be, because I've built it. It should be everything that I want out of a job because I've built it from the ground up. And they can just kind of like cut out that negativity and feed in some positivity just when you need it, just at the right time. I think sometimes with care and love, and sometimes with a harsh kind of clip round the ear to be like, that was a bit stupid. Why don't you look somewhere else? So that I think we were fortunate by just the look of the universe, in a sense, that we found partners early on who had staying power and had faith and belief in us, and that real understanding. I think you hear it a lot in investment of, it's an investment into the people as well as the business, but to actually feel that and know that kind of deep in your core of actually that's what that looks like, is when the goings gets tough, it's when you pull together harder, not try and cut your chunk out, at risk of losing money, or we're not enjoying this journey, the dividends aren't big enough, we're out, so we'll do anything by hook or crook to get our money back out. But actual real partnership and real belief in each other has been the kind of staying power for me to get through the last couple of years.
Very good. Well, Peter, it's been a pleasure hearing about your passions and your story and your reflections and your lessons. So thank you very much for all of that. One last question, if I may. Any offers for any of the viewers that you might have, or any invites or information you want to share if anybody's interested in a follow-up conversation or buying a cup of coffee from you?
Yeah, well, I think that's our key mission, is to make people be drinking better coffee. Especially either if you're out in town, welcome to come to the shops, but also you can grab some coffee for home as well. Start your own journey of understanding what good coffee should taste like. So there'll be a discount code for anybody watching this, and they can get 20% off any of their online orders that they like. You can also email as well. If you've never made coffee at home, but you want a bit more information, then we're always there to help.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely put those contacts, those links with the videos. Just remind us exactly where your stores are in Manchester, please, Peter.
So we have one in Media City, just around the corner from the BBC building.
And what are they called? Are they all called the same thing, or they're branded?
So we've got Grindsmith is in Media City, and then we've got Tack Coffee Shop as well, one in the Northern Quarter and one on University Green, just off Oxford Road.
Very good. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the very best with Grindsmith.
Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.
All the best. Bye for now.